Hello learners, welcome to this last session on integrated marketing communications where I will be discussing a few case studies with you. And before that, let us look at what this session is going to cover. So first we're going to look at the benefits of integrated marketing communications effort. Then we're going to look at what all do we integrate. As a third factor, we are going to look at the case study of Flipkart, the e-commerce company of India. Under this, we're going to discuss the attitude towards ads and brands. We will discuss the presence in social media of Flipkart. We're also going to look at the social media listening that brands do, in this case, Flipkart. Then we are going to look at the CRM, the customer relationship management, which Flipkart is very good at. And then we're going to look at the takeaways. So let us begin the session. Benefits of integrating marketing communication efforts. Last 3 sessions we have dedicated to integrated marketing communications, whereby we have learned what integrated marketing communications mean, how they are important, how they are brought together, what are the various tools, and how do we make a plan for IMC. Now, before we look at the case study, it becomes important to look at the benefits, because only then it will be logical and it will be more evident to you as to how IMC helps any brand. So the first thing is that it brings consistency to the communication made with the audience. The audiences are covered with various kinds of information in the market. What is it that brings certain kind of consistency to the communication that you make? Say for example, in the past 3 sessions, I've been talking about integrated marketing communications. Just imagine a scenario where in one of the sessions I talk about IMC, in the second session I talk about history of mass communication, in the third session I talk about theories of communication, and in the fourth session again I start talking about IMC. How confused will the learner end up being? So similarly, there has to be a consistency of communication when this communication is going from the brand to the customer. So if this is consistent, the customer will understand and will be able to relate back from the other communication from the previous communication as to what the brand is trying to say. Second is a consistent and clear communication does not confuse the audiences, obviously, because it is consistent and because it is clear, it is concise. When we talk about what goes into making effective communication, we also talk of 7 C's of communication: clarity, concise, consistent, various C's, how a communication should be and how balanced communication should be before it reaches the audiences. So this will help them not getting confused, and this will help them get your messages, get your communication in a more clear fashion. Clear, consistent range of messages brings credibility to the communication. If somebody ends up confusing you too much, you would obviously not be in a position to understand what this person means, and then that will also lead to a lack of credibility on the person's part when it comes to dealing with you. So ideally, the clarity and the consistency of messages will also bring across credibility. So it is very important for any brand to make its communication clear and concise and consistent so that people are able to trust it, people are able to believe it and understand it perfectly well. Integrating marketing communication efforts optimizes the use of resources and avoids wastage and duplication. When we are integrating, what do we mean by integrating? We bring together the synergy, we combine, we make a joint effort. What is it that is being joined? The marketing efforts and the communications efforts. Why? Because there is already a lot of overlap that exists between them, and because it is easier to achieve the objectives when you integrate the marketing and communication activities and efforts together, because it optimizes the use of resources. So while you're, say for example, let us take example of communication efforts. When I say only communication, it could mean a direct mailer, it could be a news item in a newspaper. And when I say marketing, through marketing, maybe I am trying to achieve a greater awareness of my brand in terms of what it does, where it originates from, and how it can be of help to people. So in these two ways, while the communication is on with the audiences regarding what this company is about, what is the product about, etc., and marketing is being done in order to create awareness, basically these two efforts can be clubbed together to achieve the objectives together. And this is why we need to integrate the marketing and communication efforts so that there is a greater optimal use of resources and wastage is avoided. And also there is no duplication. If there is multiplicity of messages coming from the same brand in different ways, obviously there can be a difference in understanding of the audiences. This will again lead to confusion, and unclear messages means that the audience will not trust your brand. So hence, integrating the marketing communication efforts is important as well as beneficial. As customers become more aware through clear, consistent communication, there is a greater chance of making a positive purchase decision. When there is no ambiguity, when there is complete clarity, there is no confusion in what I am going to do and why I am going to do it, how it is going to benefit me, obviously there will be fewer reasons of why I will not make a purchase decision. So hence it is better to make the customers aware about the clarity, to make them aware about the communication that you want to get across to them in order to help them make a positive purchase decision. Then it also helps in consolidating the image of an organization. When we know that we receive certain kind of clear, concise and very consistent kind of messages from a brand, our image of that brand and of that company becomes of a similar nature. So it helps in consolidating that image in a positive manner for any organization. It also helps in building a dialogue with the customer, which leads to building a relationship. We've often noticed that when we purchase a certain product or when we purchase anything, say for example a fast moving consumer durable, consumer goods or consumer durables for that matter, we usually want to go back to purchasing the same kinds again. Why? Because our trust and credibility in that brand, in that company and its product is so much, and we have not faced any problems while using this product that we would like to go for a repeat purchase. So it helps in building a dialogue with the customer, which leads to building a relationship. Once a relationship is built, you would definitely find it more credible. So it enhances that impression, the positive impression of a brand anyways. In the longer run, it is also ensuring brand loyalty. The same point I just made. When people go for repeat purchases, it means there is a certain kind of brand loyalty that has been instilled into them because of the way the brand has communicated to them, because of the kind of quality that they found of the product, because they had no complaints while using this product or service, etc. So in the longer run, it ensures brand loyalty. Since IMC is more effective, it increases profit for the organization. It increases profit because, say for example, so long you were paying 72 rupees for a liter of petrol. Today you're going to pay only 68. What does it indicate? Those 4 rupees you've been able to save. So if IMC planning is more effective, it increases profit for the organization by saving upon the expenditure. Penny saved is penny earned. So that ways. It creates a competitive advantage for the organization and a holistic positive experience for the customer. So while it is creating a competitive advantage for the organization, it is also creating a holistic kind of an experience for the customer. Competitive advantage is created because we have ensured that this customer is going to be brand loyal, he is going to make a repeat purchase, and he has no problems or no complaints from the product or service which he is putting to use. So through this we have been able to get an advantage over our competition because we know that the brand loyalty of this person will stay. At the same time, there is a holistic and positive experience for the customer and he would like to go for a repeat purchase. So these are the various benefits of integrated marketing communications. Having talked about the benefits of IMC, let us also look at what all do we integrate. we have been talking about marketing activities, we've been talking about communication activities. How do we integrate them? How does this integration actually takes place? Now, there are 7 levels of integration. One is the integration of vertical objectives. The communication and marketing objectives should fit in with the overall organizational goals. When I say vertically, the vertical structure of a company talks about the vision and mission of a company first and foremost. Then it goes down to the marketing and communication objectives and the other long-term and short-term objectives that we need to achieve. So the communication and marketing objectives should be in consonance with the larger goal of the company, with the vision and mission of the company. So this is called a integration of vertical objectives. The second level of integration is horizontal integration. The marketing communications activities should fit in with other branches like manufacturing, like operations, like HRM, etc. So say for example, I am marketing the advanced technology that a certain mobile making company may be using. So how is it that the manufacturing operations get influenced by this? Because we know that the next product which is going to come in line is going to carry this fast-paced technology which we have been marketing about. And also the human resource management. Why? Because we require that kind of expertise by the people. We require maybe more number of people who know that kind of technology and its application such that they can inbuilt that technology in my product. So on all those levels, that is what we know as horizontal integration, where various departments who are working for the company, which could be say for example a mobile production company or a cosmetic production company or a consumer durable production company, anything. So these various teams, these various branches are working together for the production. So there should be integration amongst them, and this is called horizontal integration. The third level of integration is that of the marketing mix. The marketing mix needs to be integrated with the communication messages. I gave you an example when we were discussing the benefits as to how communication could be saying the same thing and marketing activities could also be communicating the same thing. But different kind of budgets are going into both kind of activities. If we integrate the two, we save upon the budget, which becomes the profit for the company. So this is the integration of marketing mix, the third level of integration. The fourth level of integration is that of communication mix. The communication tools that you're using. It could be a Facebook page, it could be a direct mail, it could be an open letter in a newspaper, anything. So the communication tools that you're using should portray a consistent message to the customer. The idea is that when I'm reading a magazine and I come across an ad, it should not convey a different kind of brand value or brand statement to me as compared to what I read about this brand in the newspaper or what I see as a TVC or as a radio jingle. So the integration of communication mix is important. So the communication tools that are being used, one has to ensure that they are targeted towards the same objective. And then the next level is integration of creative design. There has to be a consistency between creative design and positioning of the product or service. Now when I say creative design and positioning of the product, the designing should not be such that it does not relate with the positioning of the product or service. The positioning, I have explained this to you earlier. Positioning is how you position a product in the market. Say for example, a small car could be for the middle class segment. A sedan could be, or a sedan which has specially been designed for the upper middle class. Another big car, an expensive luxury car which is for the higher class of people. So there has to be a consistency between the design of the product and the positioning of the product. It could not look inexpensive and then you cannot call it a luxury car. Say for example Tata Nano, you cannot call it a luxury car. By the look, by the design, by nowhere does it communicate that it comes into the luxury brand. So the positioning and designing should be consistent. Next level of integration is the external and internal integration. The interdepartmental cohesion, and they should also be working consistently with the external agencies which are employed. Now there has to be interdepartmental cohesion, like we were just talking about the manufacturing branch, the HR branch, the technology branch, the consultancy part, etc. All of them are internal. And what is it that they're depending on the outside agencies for? Could be some external kind of support, could be for assembling of the technology with their product, could be for marketing it in a different manner. So could be the advertising agencies that they've hired in order to communicate about their product and technology and the latest things. So the interdepartmental cohesion is important, and the cohesion of the internal departments with the external agencies which have been employed by the organization is also equally important. Then there has to be some financial integration. The budgeting for various activities should be optimal, which should ensure effectiveness and efficiency while achieving the desired goals. So the budgeting part has to be taken care of very scrupulously and meticulously. So those were the various levels of integration that we talk about when we say what all are we trying to integrate. So we're not just integrating the communication and marketing activities, we're also integrating departments along with the external agencies. We're also looking at the goals, our long-term and short-term goals, and whether they mix well with the company's vision and mission. We're also looking at the finance and budgeting as to whether it mixes up well. The budgeting for various activities has to be, whether it is optimal and efficient and effective. So there are so many different levels of integration on which IMC works. And when all of this integration takes place, it creates a huge value for any company, in terms of the revenue, in terms of the profit that it saves for itself. Now I will discuss the case study of Flipkart with you. Flipkart is an Indian e-commerce company, as you all know, which was founded in the year 2007 by Bansal brothers, who were earlier working with Amazon.com. The integrated marketing communication approach that Flipkart had majorly had everything to do through advertisement. So while I have been telling you repeatedly that we need to customize the integrated marketing communications plan for it to succeed, it is not always necessary that we go by all sorts of communication tools and all kinds of marketing activities that are available at hand. So there can be, only advertisement which can make the most. Like in this case, Flipkart majorly talked to its customers through advertising. So its IMC approach consisted largely of that. To make the people aware, to attract and educate the people, there were advertisements that were released. Why? Because Flipkart was a new concern and it was an Indian concern. It began with selling only books, and then it got into electronics, and now it is into so many different things. So how do you make people aware that you exist? Through e-commerce is not a bad idea, that you will not be cheated, that what is shown in the picture will exactly be what is getting delivered, that what is being delivered is not a fake product. So many aspects that you need to educate, you need to make people aware. So this was a huge challenge in front of Flipkart. They designed their advertisements in a way that messages could be easily decoded and had an emotional appeal. Now, sometimes there are very beautiful advertisements that are made, but they don't really strike a chord with the audiences. Why? Two reasons. One, because everybody does not like to put their head into an advertisement message. So if it is simple and to the point and coming across well, it will be taken well. Otherwise, people would not like to, spend a lot of time figuring out what you mean through your communication. So you have to make it very simple. This was the beauty of the advertisements of Flipkart, that they could be simply and easily decoded by the audiences. And at the same time, they had an emotional appeal. Ads stand a greater chance, as per researchers, that when they have certain kind of emotional backing, they obviously strike a chord somewhere or the other with the audiences. Because ads, as we all know, ads are something that are not only talking about one particular kind of audiences. They are going to masses, and we are not sure who all are seeing them. So if you want your product to be accepted on a greater scale by a larger number of people, you better make them very, very simple, the way Flipkart did. And the emotional appeal always attracts more eyeballs, always strikes a chord with the audiences, which is helpful for any brand. Then they engage the customer. They engage the customer in the advertisements that they built. Like if you've seen the advertisements of Flipkart, the video ads, you would see that they would suggest a beach vacation. And then all those things that are needed for a beach vacation, maybe a hat and shorts and sunglasses, and then they would quickly place a price tag on each of them. So you have some idea that if you're going for a beach vacation, these are the kind of things that would be needed, and this is the kind of price lower than the competition at which Flipkart is selling them. So you are able to engage your customer. So if a beach vacation is in my mind, I would obviously like to spend 2 minutes or 1 minute to look at your video ad. Then it is the attitude towards ads and brand that makes the point in case of Flipkart. The way they advertised helped them in getting that gain, getting that benefit. After analyzing which media and when to schedule, they implemented it. So you have to analyze every media. Which medium are you going for? Are you going for the print? Are you going for the electronic? Are you going for the new media? If so, why? And then how are you scheduling it? Media scheduling is also another very important task, whereby you figure out how do you schedule the implementation of various media messages. At what stage should a print advertisement come? And then as compared to that, at what stage should a social media ad come? So you do some kind of media scheduling after analyzing which media is going to serve your interest best. And Flipkart was very good at it. Then there were 3 modes of scheduling that they made use of. One was occasional ads, which was in general media. Occasional ads would be, say for example, the big billion day. So here's that day which is approaching and you get some discounts from this date to this date if you shop. So this is an occasional ad and which is being released in media of different kinds. Secondly, we have seasonal ads, largely around New Year's, Christmas, Diwali. So you have a Flipkart Happy Diwali sale. This is again something which is largely advertised in various media, not limited to one medium per se. So these were two modes of scheduling media messages. The third was particularly on their websites. This was the continuous advertisement. Whenever you open the website of Flipkart, you will find these ads reflecting on as a banner ad on the home page, and it would get changed each day. So this was available on the website. Today, the presence of Flipkart in social media is such that it is India's largest digital ads platform. And there is always some option to connect, What is it that makes the presence in social media of a certain brand felt by the audiences? When at the end of your page, you have a connect somewhere. And Flipkart has the option to connect to Twitter and to connect to Google Plus at the bottom of their page. Also, they track and remind customers about the last search they had and where they left viewing. So this tracking would help them, the sentences that would come, that the customers would come across would sound like, you were looking at this, go back to your search. So they will always suggest some options. It is very common that people, whenever they're searching for some product or some service, something online, in the middle they leave it because it is mostly the handheld devices that they're looking at, and then they go back to work or they are distracted by something else. So this tracking of customers and reminding them where they left their search and what they were viewing last is an important component which will ensure purchase decisions that have been made in favor of a certain brand. And that's what Flipkart did very well. Today a lot of brands do it. Then what else they were good at was the social media listening. We will just come to it. Now I was just talking about how they used to remind their customers about what they were viewing last. The reminders are popped up in newsfeed or on Facebook or on Flipkart app itself. So as many times as you would open the Flipkart app, you would be suggested that this is what you were looking at last viewed items, 1, 2, 3. Also such kind of reminders pop up in the newsfeed or on Facebook. How? Because they are tracking the audiences. They have this large amount of data with them, whereby they know who is looking for what, who is purchasing what is the purchase behavior of a certain customer, etc. So all these things keep popping in the newsfeed or on Facebook pages of any, your personal Facebook pages. Also, they create pre-purchase awareness. Pre-purchase awareness is created either through news or through events or through offers, etc. Say for example, Akshaya Tritiya. This is the time which is considered to be good and benevolent when it comes to purchase of gold. It is an auspicious time amongst the Hindus. So usually they would create some pre-purchase awareness about what a consumer should expect during Akshaya Tritiya, what kind of discounts would be available, what kind of better purchasing opportunities would be available, and this is done through news or events or offers, etc. Then I was just talking about social media listening. It is important in marketing environment to listen to the audiences. So when we talk about social media listening, it is also what we call social media monitoring. So you have to identify and access what is being said about a company or an individual or a product or a brand on net. As long as you're able to identify who is saying what about a brand, you can correct your media messages about a certain brand. So this is what we call social media listening, and Flipkart is a good example of that. Now let us look at the CRM, Customer Relationship Management of Flipkart. As a case study, when I started discussing Flipkart, one important aspect that all of you, when you're looking at understanding brand values, is that customer relationship management is something which is looked at highly and convincingly by any brand. Why? Because if you're able to relate and identify with your customers in a certain manner, you're going to ensure brand loyalty time and again. And Flipkart was always good with its CRM. They were good at handling negative publicity. They were good at handling the way media came at them, and they were greater, stronger promotions which strikes out all competitors in terms of pricing, in terms of valuation, in terms of the way they feature themselves and the placement of the product and how they sell themselves. So in all, it is a good package when we talk about the customer relationship management of Flipkart. So out of this case study, there are certain takeaways that you as learners of integrated marketing communications should have. And these takeaways are, number one, the IMC requires a lot of effort and careful planning, but it has many benefits. So for any startup, if you are trying to get into entrepreneurship or trying to get into startup, what one must look into is integrated marketing communications, because despite the fact that it costs you a lot of efforts and careful planning, it saves you about almost every penny that you can by not duplication. You have to ensure that repeat purchase takes place, and if you have to ensure that a certain communication gets maintained in a positive manner with your customers. Then of course there is a hike in profit in terms of sales as well as revenue, because penny saved is penny earned. So whenever you're saving upon your communication efforts by helping it not to duplicate upon the marketing efforts, you are creating a hike in profit out of the same kind of resources. So you are able to optimize the use of resources that are there with you. And of course, it saves the time and stress that you take in order to ensure that your marketing activities and your communication activities are more successful as compared to the competition, as compared to your various previous activities, and in order to ensure that you rise your business volume, your sales purchase, and your brand loyalty. So with that, we end this session, and I hope you've been able to figure out how integrated marketing communications has been of use to you. Think positive, think IMC. Thank you.